Hello and welcome to Ginger Prime, and if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back Soul Nation. You truly are a legend. That's what you get for subscribing, by the way. Free legendary titles at the start of these videos. Today we're doing the Ninja Controller Guide, and I'm so thrilled to be able to share with you this guide and this job. If you're checking out this video, trying to decide if this is going to be the job for you, or if you should play Final Fantasy XIV, I would honestly recommend this job highly, and at the same time, if you're considering jumping into the game, check in the link or the link in the description for the free trial. You can play this game all the way up to level 60. You can take on the ninja and level it up and enjoy an incredible story. Highly recommended. But without further ado, this is a controller guide, and as a part, we're going to show you how to target, how to lay out the controller itself. But then the ending part of it's going to be focusing in on the skills for the ninja, kind of the placements, macros, and things like that I use. Now, if you don't really want to jump or have to watch the whole video just to get to that part, you can always check the playhead of this video or in the description of the video for the timestamps, so that way you can jump to whatever section that you're specifically needing. If this video doesn't answer any questions you have, you can always check out my ultimate controller guide, which that is also going to be in the description for you. That way you can jump to that and really get deep into the controller itself. But obviously, if neither of those do the job, always ask. You can hit me up in Discord, you can hit me up on the comments, or even on Twitter. Always just here to help you have the best experience possible when playing Final Fantasy XIV. I know that's a long intro. Let's go ahead and dive into the game and let's have some fun. So first things first, let's go ahead and hit start, and you want to go over to your system and character configuration. If you're new to controllers or the concept within Final Fantasy XIV, you can easily toggle between keyboard and mouse and controller mode by using this wonderful toggle right here. Now in gamepad mode, it's going to default you to legacy type. That's going to have you run around just like you're seeing on screen. But if you want to play around with just like what's called standard type, when you hit back, it's going to have you walk backwards and move forwards. Personally, for me, I prefer legacy type, so just make it whatever way that you want to play around with it. And just that's the best tip I have. Figure out what works best and more comfortable for you and play it that way. Now, I want to jump over into the filters section of this guide. Again, you're going to jump into this because if you want more detail about all these tabs, just hit the ultimate guide. But beyond that, let's focus in on target cycling. I have two filters here for when my weapon is sheathed and when my weapon is drawn. You can see sheath, I have custom, in which that I've got party members turned off, pets and minions turned off, minions and signs turned off. However, non-party PCs, alliance members, all enemies, and NPCs and objects turned on. And when my weapon is drawn, I've got duty specific aggroing and all enemies, aka pre-built filter for enemies. You got a couple pre-built filters that you can use. Otherwise, you can kind of build out your own. Furthermore, you can expand on this even further by holding down the L bumper and pressing Y, B, X, or A. And if you're on a PlayStation controller, X, square, circle, triangle, to be able to kind of have more defined filters to kind of play around with. So I'm going to highlight what this really means in this case. Let me go ahead and hit close, and then So here I am, no weapons drawn. If I want to draw my weapons, I can click the left stick to be able to draw my weapons and put them away. But with the weapons put away, I can just hit left and right on the D-pad, and I'm going to do a lot of targets. It's just going to hit everything and anything except for a party member. The reason being is that you can actually target party members by hitting the up and down buttons on the D-pad itself. So it makes it really efficient to do that. But if I take out my weapons, now if I just hold left and right and just kind of target between these two targets, that's all it's going to pick up. Anything that I can attack. Furthermore, if you wanted to hold down the left trigger or the right trigger to go into your actions, you can actually press the left bumper and the right bumper to target as well. So you can see here, just left bumper, right bumper, easy targeting in and of itself. We'll cover that a little bit more as here in a second. All right, back into character configuration. We talked about filters, targeting. Hopefully that gives you a good setup. Let's talk about how you have your hotbars configured now. I've got display recast timers turned on. I've got hide unassigned slots turned on. The reason is if I do this, boom, all of a sudden these gray floating bars. I have display hotbar numbers turned off. So otherwise you would see it there. And then I've got hotbar 3 in this case configured as a part of a 12x1. But when you're laying out your UI, make it something that's worthwhile to you. Like you can do so much with the UI. It's truly spectacular. And having recently just played WoW for the first time, and having to add add-ons just to do some of the things, I kind of feel spoiled by Final Fantasy in this case. All right, let's jump into the sharing tab. because this is going to come back into play more. But you can see here, anything that's got a checkbox lit up, that means it's shared. So if I change to a botanist, if I change to a tank, whatever the skills that are set on that hotbar are going to carry over. Anything that is not checked means it's job, aka, and class specific. So botanist is going to have a different hotbar 1 than my tank, than my ninja. So just note that that is how that is performing. Then this is where ninja gets different than all my other jobs. I've got always display my W cross hotbar. That's the double tap over here, left and right. But I have turned off return to cross hotbar after W cross hotbar input. This allows me to do my ninjutsu and stay within the range. So as I kind of play around with it, I can do these different things. And I got to target this. Close, yes. And oh, I missed it. Oh, that's fun. All right. Anyway, so just note that like it allows me to stick up in that section for that most part. So that's where the ninja is different than all the other jobs in Shadowbringers. All right, so I also, to use the W cross hotbar and the expanded cross hotbar, which is left trigger, right trigger holding, and then right trigger, left trigger holding, I'm in hold mode. But if you're struggling, you can check out toggle or mix mode. This allows you to turn it on and off like as a button, or mixed allows you to do kind of a blending of both, but you will lose a feature of the expanded or the double cross hotbar depending on what mode you're in. All right, furthermore, let's go into custom. I have enable expanded controls with left trigger and right trigger, which you can see here is cross hotbar 2 left. So these are job specific skills. And then I have right trigger, then left trigger. This is 7 right. 7 right being a shared cross hotbar. So now you can see my mount, my limit break, my sprint, my wondrous tales, and some targeting macros, etc. Then expanded the enable W cross hotbar. I have enabled directional buttons, so that gives me more skills to be able to play around with. And in this case, this is set to hotbar 3 and left and right. Now you'll note that if I try to drag something onto hotbar 3 left and right, I do not have that ability to do so. And the reason is you cannot directly interact with the expanded cross hotbar. You actually have to go to 3 and to be able to rearrange it. So you can see me just doing it this way, and thus that's how it happens. You cannot do any drag and drop, anything like that. But if you're on a PlayStation, let's say you don't have the luxury of having a keyboard and mouse hooked up, you can always press left bumper and then down on the right stick, and you're going to enter into what's called virtual mouse mode. This will turn your right stick into a mouse. You move the mouse cursor and turn your left click and your left stick and your right stick into the left click and right click accordingly. And then you can press down the left bumper and down to the right stick to turn that mode off. So just note that if you're seeing me move the mouse and you don't have a keyboard and mouse, that's how you're going to do it. That's how you'll actually drag skills onto your hotbar 3, and that's just how you go from there. So all right, then finally, as a part of this configuration, you have enable customization for when your weapon is sheathed and when your weapon is drawn. This says that when my weapon is not is sheathed, I can actually press right bumper and toggle between hotbar 7 and 8 and number 1. So if I wanted to do my repairs, I could easily knock this out without having to worry about where I've got that on my screen or have some extra go into an extra menu for that. But if I take my weapon out and if I try to press R bumper, it's not going to let me page over at all. But you can still tag or toggle between any of them by holding down right bumper, and then you can use the face buttons and the D-pad to be able to switch between your various different hotbars. So hopefully that helps understand and how that's broken down. Hopefully this has been a good tips for how you break down all of your filters and your settings. Again, if you have any questions, just let me know. Now it's time we get into our skill placement, and I'll talk about the reason why I've got my skills set up the way that I do. And again, this is just for recommendation. This is you can take this for what you want and do whatever you want with it. But let's go ahead and just kind of start with the basic attack here. And you can see overall, as a part of my how I fight and how I put myself, the ninja doesn't have that many positionals, unlike monk, but my positionals still follow the same rule that I've got otherwise. So looking at this, I just auto attack. There we go. All right. So looking at it over here, Algolian Edge, which is going to be, you want to have it execute from the target's rear, and then Armor Crush is going to be from the flank. So the general rule from a positional is that for me, anything that I have on the up and down is going to be from a rear. Anything on the left and right needs to be from the flank. In this case, this doesn't really require flank, so it doesn't necessarily matter in this case. But regardless, Armor Crush, in this case, I want to make sure that I am using this from the target's flank. Continuing on the right hand side, you can kind of see this is what I call my single target rotation. I call this baklava, and I do apologize. I will be butchering words, not on purpose. It's just how my brain works. Then I've got Dream Assassin. So let me go and show you this macro real quick, because I think you'll hopefully appreciate it. Because Assassinate triggers off of a dream within a dream, which you can see here up on hotbar 3 to communicate that, hey, assassinate, go and assassinate. I've stacked these. Now, Dreaming Within a Dream has got a big cooldown, so I can use this and then I can follow it up with assassinate right away, or I can still wait and use it like on the next, off the global cooldown. But all in all, I want to be able to make sure that I can use assassinate, and that's tagged in there. And whenever assassinate is ready, I have that communicated to me up here on my hotbar 3. So that's just how I've got Dream Assassin set up. Then I've got Mug, and then I've got Shadowfang. So this is kind of my single, what I can more or less consider my single target rotation. On the left hand side, I got my AoE rotation along with a couple extra skills. So Death Blossom, and then Haki Manjitsu. And then I've got Hellfrog Medium, and then again Dream Assassin. The reason is that as I'm doing my rotation, I still want to be able to do a Dream Within a Dream. I still want to be able to do an Assassinate on a single target within that rotation. So then I've got that. But then I also have Mug over here as well, and I've got it close within the AoE rotation, because when Mug is up, I want to be able to feed myself, because it gives you that 40 extra for your Nikki gauge. So I want to be able to do that, because that's going to allow me to Hellfrog much easier. I've got my Hide ability, Feint, and Shade Shift. The reason is, especially in AoE pools with a lot of different things going off, I want to be able to reduce any kind of damage that's going to help, that's just going to help keep me further alive. Now, left hand side, you'll see my ninjutsu is set up very similar to how it is on the right hand side. It's because if I'm over here doing AoE rotation and I want to be able to pop some ninjutsu, I can go right back into my AoE rotation right here. So that's just kind of how I have that set up. Looks like Hellfrog Medium. Boom. Okay, so now that fight is over, a couple other things I kind of like to point out over here on the left hand side. So like how I've got ninjutsu set up on both sides. I also have Trick Attack, Tenchi Jin, Misui, and Kazatetsu in this case. So in this case, like one of the things that, especially when it comes to ninjutsu, you'll see that I've got these over here floating in the air. This is to help communicate, hey, these are some different abilities. These are some different magic ninjutsu spells that you can take advantage of. So if I use Kazatsu and then I just use my magic and my ninjutsu, I can do so over here, and then I can fire that off to be able to have like some great impact. So it's just kind of feeding me information. Now, if I just did that regularly, this is going to be its kind of base AoE fire in this case. And so then I have this to be able to feed me some information for ice. And then, that's just kind of how I've got my ninjutsu set up, and the reason why I've got that listed over there, especially over here on the right hand side. So if you're struggling with any spells to memorize what you want to use, just make sure that you can put these different patterns in there, and maybe give yourself like a macro or something like that to help feed you some information, so that you're not having to sit here on the fly, think about what it is that you need to use. Now over here on the right hand side, slightly different, obviously with the ninjutsu setup. Trick Attack, same spot over here, but I have Bushin, Baklava in this case, and again that is all configured the same way. Obviously this is I love this this ability. This is what we get excited about, being able to have those shadows. And so in this case I really love the visual effect of that, but being that it's got a 90-second cooldown, I've got it listed up here so that way I can kind of pop this on if it's available. Otherwise I can continue to do other things as needed. Now as a part of this, because I'm locked into the ninjutsu when I'm up here, that I can do these different things, I stay in here. So if I was going to, in this case, just kind of as an example, now I can Trick Attack, come back into this, do some extra abilities, and go from there. So it has a lot of power to it to be able to kind of play around with how it's laid out. So we've covered the 3 and we've covered that, but we haven't covered a hotbar 2 layout as well. So here I've got Shuken Key, and then this is a part of a macro. Let me just go and kill the battle music. And the reason this is as a part of a macro is that I want to be able to just kind of jump towards my target, whoever that is. But if I don't have a target, I want to still be able to use this ability. So you can kind of see the macro listed here just twice. So if I don't have a target and I use this ability, you can see I've got the little target cursor placed on the ground. Now, if I hold down the right bumper, I can reposition with the left stick, but typically I try to keep it generally at where I ever want it to be, so I can easily jump and teleport around. But if I go ahead and have a target, in this case, I can actually jump right to my target as well. So you have that ability set up, and that's the reason why I've got that set as a macro. Then I also have Throwing Dagger for my ranged attack, Second Wind, and Leg Sweep. And Leg Sweep for all of my jobs that have a stun is always in the same spot, so it's always muscle memory at that point. Then I've got Bloodbath, Shadeshift again, True North, and Feint again in this case. So those are the positionals and the skills that I have access to. And with that, my ninja guide draws to a close. Thanks everybody for tuning in. And if you have any questions, let me know. If you feel like this video earns your subscription, earns that like, be sure to let me know so that I can thank you and welcome you officially to the Soul Nation in the comments below. But for Ginger Prime, my name's Brian. I hope you have really enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great day, and I hope to see you in my next video. But until then, take care. This video is sponsored by me, Ginger Prime. Hopefully you'll check out my podcast channel, Ginger Gaming Radio, which we have lots of guests, lots of great conversations, and even more highlights. Links are in the description below. Let me know what you think. Thanks.